because that's not what real men do. Real men take accountability for their actions. If that man would do this to his other children, you got to know you next. They got weak men and weak women who out there who want to take the blame and put it on everybody else. You're never going to win like that because welcome to Cindy's Chronicles. Boom. Haha. What is up, my angels? Thank y'all so much for tuning in today. If you are new here, y'all do me a favor and subscribe. I'm headed to 200K. 200K is on the way. 200K is on the way. Anyway, guys, if you are my loyal subscriber, thank y'all so much for coming back. I am in my car, guys, in the garage. It's hot as snot. Hold on one second. Hold on. Okay. Had to take that call. Anyway, yes, I came to the garage to get my car and I sat here. I was like, this is on my mind so deep. And you know, when stuff be on my mind, it always be a message for somebody. So I stopped. I'm going to go ahead and get this message out before I pull out this garage. So here's y'all story time for today. Let's get into this story time. Yeah. Could I have been like a singer or something in my past life? I don't know. Here we go, guys. I have 3 children, right? I have about to be 29-year-old. I have 26 and 24. So yeah, my kids are all grown up. This is a story time about when they were young. When they were young, their dad and I split up when my youngest was born. Now, that was my very first boyfriend. I never dated nobody else before. I had never had any other boyfriends. He was my first boyfriend. Never dated. I had my kids by him, and we got to a point where I let them be free. I'm the type of mother that these are my children, okay? And if you don't want to take part in helping to raise them, by any means, I'm going to do whatever I have to do because I brought these kids in this world. Like, I pushed them out of my noonie. This is my responsibility. So without even second guessing it, I went in head first, right? And took care of my responsibilities. I did whatever I had to do by any means. Now let's fast forward. He came around a little bit every, blue moon. He'll come around. I probably can count on maybe 2 fingers the times he brought over Christmas gifts, or maybe one. I don't know, 1 or 2 that he brought over Christmas gift when the kids were young. That's neither here or there. I'm not here to bash him or anything. I have a message in this story. So the time for my kids being small kids all the way up, even though he didn't do anything for my children, even though he was not a stand-up parent, even though he would, say for instance, if his family had a function, I would still take my children over there and I would dress them up, make my kids look cute, and let him get all the credit, right? Because it's not about him. I don't care what people think. I care about people, who, when somebody see my children, they are a representation of me. So I'm going to always make sure my children look good. I was going to always make sure they were well groomed, well mannered. They had everything they needed. Right? I never talked bad about him to my children because at the end of the day, I never cared about what he thought. I never cared about what nobody thought. My whole life, my whole goal in life was to make sure my children knew that they were loved. Because if I bash their daddy and say, hey, your daddy really don't want nothing to do with you. He really over there married with a whole nother family. And like, he don't give 2 snots about you. If I had did that, that was not going to hurt me. It's not going to hurt their dad. It was going to hurt my children, because later on my children would sit there and think, well, why don't he love me? Which that came up later on in life. So y'all follow me here. And if I'm taking long on this story, I'm sorry. It is hot in this garage. And yeah, let me get through this story. So throughout the time of my children being young and all the way until they got in like high school, right? I would call him on birthdays. I would say, hey, it's your child's birthday. Can you call my son, tell him happy birthday? I remember one time specifically, especially on my son's 16th birthday, I called him and said, hey, your son is turning 16 years old. He's getting to an age where he needs to know that he has a dad, that he's loved by his dad. He needs a male figure. Whatever you need to do, if you could pick him up and take him to the movies, I will pay you. Like, that's how bad I wanted him to be a part of their life. Not for him, for my children. Because only thing that mattered to me was my children's happiness. So all the things that he did, all the, times where I called him one time when my kids were really small, and my oldest was the only one in school. And I said, hey, this girl got some uniforms for sale. They like $5 each. You want to grab them for Anthony? He said, money don't grow on trees. Why am I asking him? I never asked him for school clothes again, because first of all, baby, money don't have to grow on trees. If my son going to school and he needs school pants, I'm going to make it happen. Okay. So that was that. Y'all know how I felt about my kids. You know how, me taking him around his dad, or trying to, not paint their dad out to be a dad, but not bashing the kids to him, allowing them to know that they're loved by me and him, and he's just not around. But this is one thing I did used to tell my children. Well, y'all, he didn't have a daddy, so he doesn't know really how to come around, but he will one day. I used to speak good, right? So bam, one day my son was in 8th grade. I'll never forget this. My oldest, my 29-year-old, was in 8th grade. My daughter was in 6th grade. And I was at work, so my 8th grader was taking the 2 youngest to go school shopping. I gave them the money, sent them to Old Navy. They knew what to go try on their school clothes, pick them out, go home, right? So, bam, they saw their dad in the store. And y'all follow me, because this is a key point in the rest of the story. So they called me and they was like, guess what, mama? I was like, yeah. They was like, we saw our daddy in the store and he gave us his phone number. He said, call him, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay, cool, right? That is good. I'm happy for y'all, because at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, finally, the kids are old enough. My kids literally still have the same cell phone numbers they had in 6th grade that they have right now. So I'm like, okay, kudos, right? So they come home, they're all excited because they have their dad's number, blah, blah, blah. Now, mind you, my son was 16. I called his dad and I'm like, hey, so that goes to show y'all, he never answered the phone for him. When they called, I don't know how that went. I know my son said he called a few times and his dad was like, I'll call you back, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what happened with that. His number ended up getting changed. They never properly end up, hanging out with him. Still, I didn't bash him. Still, I gave him grace. Not for him, because my goal in life is always to protect my children. Okay? So, bam, let's fast forward into adulthood. My kids are grown at this point. I want to say maybe my son was graduating high school. No. After he graduated high school, because I reached out to his dad for his graduation. I was like, hey, your son is graduating. I reached out to him on Facebook. I even sent his wife a long message on Facebook, sending her the same message that I sent him. Hey, your son is graduating from high school. He's a young man now. It really would make him feel good if he looked in a crowd and saw your face at the graduation. That's a whole thing. He went on to say he live in Texas now and come in driving 4 hours to Baton Rouge. But, he gave me his little excuse, whatever. He'll see if he can make it. So my son graduates from high school. Of course, he did not make it. And now he wants to start a relationship with his dad, right? His dad reached out to him because, hey, he grown now. Now we can go to the club together, blah, blah, blah. And so he come home one day and he was so excited. He was like, Mama, man, that man is so funny. Now, mind you, their dad is a Capricorn like me. So I'm guessing he probably is really funny. Fun fact. My birthday and his birthday are on the same day. Me and their dad. December 31st. I don't know. Capricorn men are different. They're weird. But I love Capricorn women. Okay, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, so bam, he come home one day. I'll never forget. He walked in the kitchen and he said, Mama, that man is so funny. He looked at me and he was like, boy, you got some beautiful teeth. Your mama really took care of you. He was giving my son compliments and then he would come home the next day and he'll say something different the next day. And he was so happy to be hanging out with his dad, right? So then he come home one day and he say, Mama, I talked to my daddy and you didn't tell me that you were the reason why he wasn't in our life. I was like, huh? Mind you, I had did everything that I could, right, to allow him to be a part of my kid's life. He said, Mama, my daddy told me that you would not allow him to see us. You were in a relationship and you did this and you did that. And you are the reason my son was so angry. You the reason. My daughter stepped in and she was like, yeah, when we saw him that day in Old Navy, when I was in 6th grade, he told us then, but we didn't come home and say nothing to you because we didn't want you to be mad. Be mad? What did he tell y'all? He said that it was because of you. He been trying to reach out to us. He been trying to do this. He been trying to do that. Lies. Y'all know what I did? I put up all those old messages. I put up all those old Facebook messages and showed it to him. But before I can try to plead my case, my daughter say, Mama, you don't have to do that. She said, I never told you this, but that day when I saw my daddy in Old Navy, I gave him my phone number. Remind y'all, my daughter still got the same phone number now that she's had since she was in 6th grade. She said, not only did I reach out to him, but I gave him my phone number. She said, when Anthony and Larry walked off, I turned around and I ran back over there, wrote my number on a piece of paper and said, just in case you call me. She said, Mama, he's never called my phone, not once. So I believe you. My son looked at me and he said, Mama, I agree. Because now that I'm an adult and I've been hanging out with my daddy, do you know he asked me to put a car in my name because we got the same name. And he asked me to put the insurance in my name. And I said, I have to ask my mama because my insurance is in my mom's name. And I don't know if I could add you. He wanted him to add him to his insurance because they got the same name. Not put the car in his name, add him onto his insurance because they have the same name. So the people wouldn't know that, whatever. He said, and when I told him I couldn't do it, he stopped answering the phone for me. I said all this to say, guys, listen, do the best that you can with the tools that you have. You don't have to bash that man to those children. You don't have to bash that woman to those children. They will grow up. That person's character will tell on itself because people don't change. A lot of times they outgrow situations and they become better. But if they really become a better person, then they take accountability and say, look, I was wrong. I did wrong. I wasn't in your life and your mama is right, but I'm here now and I want to make up for it. That's what my baby son did. His dad. I'm going to get to that for a whole nother story. Okay. So if you are that parent that has that plays a main part in your child's life, continue to do that. Continue to be who you are. Continue to love that child, do for that child, provide for that child. You don't have to go out of your way to bash the daddy, because the truth will always reveal itself. That person's character will always reveal itself. That child will grow up. And no matter what people try to tell that child, and no matter how that person tries to play the innocent role, that child will find out. Everything in life becomes full circle. Now, my son, Larry, his dad wasn't really there in his life, right? It was me and my children. But when my son made 18 years old, his dad made it a point to come back and say, listen, I was gone most of your life, which he wasn't really gone. You know, he was in and out. He was incarcerated. He came back and told my son, I don't care what I got to do, even though my son was fighting. And he was like, no, whatever. He was like, I'm not going away. And he didn't. He meant that. And he stayed and he tried and he called and he came over and he picked my son up. He pushed it until him and my son got a relationship. And he took accountability for his actions. So I love that about him. He didn't come in and say, oh, your mama did this and your mama did that and your mama didn't let me see you and your mama. He didn't do that, because that's not what real men do. Real men take accountability for their actions. Real women take accountability for their actions. I'm not bashing my kid's dad's wife, and I know she don't have any control over them, over, what he did. I want any woman who's in any type of situation like this to pay close attention to the men in your life. If that man would do this to his other children, you got to know you next. You got to know it. You got to know it. You got to know as soon as he not dealing with you, he going to do you the same thing he did them kids. It's in his character. Okay? My kid's daddy had a wife at the time. Real nice lady. I'm not bashing her or whatever, right? But it came a point in her life where she began to deal with the same thing I was dealing with. Now here I am texting her saying, or emailing her or Facebooking her, hey, how you doing? This is what's going on, and I don't want any money from him. I don't want nothing from him. I want him to show my kids that they are loved. Stop by, take them out to eat, take them to the movies. I'll pay for it. I'll even give you gas. So it came a point in time where she began to deal with the same thing. Why? Because that's who he is. That's who he is. If you're with a man or if you're with a woman and they're doing stuff to their other kids and you have kids with them, or they have bad characteristics from their last relationship, they're going to do it to you. That's just who they are. I have nothing but respect for people who say I made a mistake, and that's what it was in life. And, I didn't do this the right way in the beginning, but as a man, I want to step up and do it the right way now. But they got weak men and weak women who out there who want to take the blame and put it on everybody else. You're never going to win like that, because the truth will always reveal itself. Okay. That was the story time, and that was the message I had today. That message is for somebody. I hope you guys got it. The people who get it. The people who don't, I hope you do one day. Anyway, thank y'all so much for tuning into this video. Y'all do me a favor and have an amazing day. Mwah! Oh, one more thing, guys. If this message was for you, if you got it, drop a comment, please, below and let me know you got it. Okay?